A few days ago, I reviewed Samurai Warriors 5 and just wow. The positive response and amount of views on that video has just been kinda overwhelming, honestly. I'm only a small channel and I've only been doing this for about 7-8 months now. And I have under 300 subscribers, and that review at the time of recording has just over 6,000 views, which for a channel like mine is pretty amazing, and it's kinda hard to comprehend at times. I mean, is 6,000 views a lot in the grand scheme of YouTube? Well, no, not really. But to a little channel like mine, and for someone who's pretty new to this stuff, it's just a great feeling, and it really does give me that encouragement that content creators need to keep going. So really, I have all of you to thank for this. To my regulars, of course, many thanks as usual, and to all the newcomers, thanks for, taking a chance on my content and giving it a watch, and welcome to the channel if you subscribed. I really do hope I can continue to earn everybody's support as the channel moves forward. We are getting closer to that 500 sub goal, so if you're not subscribed, take a look at my other stuff that I've made, and if you like what you see, please do consider subscribing. Every single one of you goes a long way to helping the channel grow. If you haven't seen the review yet, please do check it out if you're interested. People seem to be very happy with its structure and style, so maybe I'm doing something right. But moving on to the actual topic of this video, I wanted to discuss the negative sides of Samurai Warriors 5. I had a lot of great comments on the review, and I've gathered a lot of different viewpoints, and I thought it would be a good idea to just follow up on the review and bring some of these opinions to the surface, because I really do think they're all quite valid. Now, I do my reviews the way I do them because I strongly feel like review scores are virtually outdated at this point and simply just don't work anymore. The review is completely subjective to the person playing it or watching it or reviewing it. The idea that a single number can accurately score a game for every single person who watches that review is just kind of absurd. I do my videos in 4 blocks: the facts, the positives, the negatives, and then a conclusion. The facts part is just what type of game it is, what it's about, all that kind of stuff. Then positives and negatives are completely 100% personal opinions of mine, which I make sure to tell people. And then in the conclusions section, I try to recommend the game to various people based on who they might be as a player. Can I cover absolutely all bases? Well, no, probably not. I don't think anyone really can. But with all that in mind, I'm not just going to give a game a glowing review even if I love it. I don't think that's helpful to anyone. I think you need the balance. You need to give people both good and bad, and try to think how other people of different viewpoints might perceive the game differently to you. It's not about getting my viewpoint listened to or validated, it's about helping other people make informed choices. It's why I also try to answer as many comments as possible. And lots of people gave me their views on Samurai Warriors 5 in the comments of that review, and I'm basically going to talk about some of them now. So it seems to me, after looking through the comments, that the 2 biggest sticking points for most people is the game not having an English dub and the cutting back of content, such as the size of the roster and the characters having duplicated movesets. So first, let's tackle the English dub. For things like anime, I've always been a dub over sub kind of person. I don't think I've ever watched an anime in Japanese with subtitles. I grew up with English dubs of Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Digimon, and, 2 of my personal favorite animes, Gunslinger Girl and Outlaw Star. I'm used to the voices being that way, and it's not because the Japanese is bad, it's in fact often better in quality, tone, and storytelling. It's just that dubs are my preference because that's how I've always known them, if you understand what I mean. With the Warriors games, dubs are often awful, but in that kind of over-the-top, so bad it's good kind of way. In the early days, they all had English dubs, but as time went on, the Warriors games have received less and less of it. It can be very expensive to get a full English voice cast, I understand that, especially if the Warriors game is anime-based, like One Piece Pirate Warriors or Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, for example. But really, I think the problem people have is that A, it feels lazy, like the developers don't want to spend the money, or B, that the game is released in an English-speaking country, it should just have English voices, and C, that it can be kind of annoying or difficult to read all of the text that comes up during the battle while fighting, causing you to miss story stuff or important battle info. I personally fall into the third category with Samurai Warriors 5. The characters are constantly talking to one another, and I just can't look at it, read it, understand it, and still keep fighting and moving around the map at the same time. I'm sure there's people that can and have no problem with it, but but for me, I would just love to be able to listen to it as I fight and understand what's happening just as things happen. It would just really help the experience for me personally, and I think for a lot of other people. When it comes to A, I think the devs have started to become a bit, shall we say, frugal. I hesitate to say lazy because it's generally not a choice of 98% of the studio on how things get made. It's usually the 2% in charge that choose how much money is spent and on what and when. So I don't really want to lump the whole studio into one word. I just don't really think that's fair to do. I do, however, think that Koei and Omega Force have been stretching out content and removing stuff to save on costs. And again, it's just the suits in charge that usually do things like that. The programmers and normal staff just make what they're told to make. It doesn't excuse it or make it right, but it is worth remembering that that's how things work. In regards to B, if you're just flat out wanting an English voice because the game has been released in an English-speaking country, I can't really argue with that, honestly. I mean, as an example, the next game I'm reviewing, which is Shadowverse Champions Battle, has a full English dub, and the anime that goes with it does not. So, let that sink in. The second major issue that I saw a lot of people mention, and I also talked about this in my review, is the stripped out content. So the roster is only 27 characters, whereas Samurai Warriors 4 had around 55. I suppose you could make the argument that they had to completely redesign and redo everything, including the characters, but it's literally been cut in half. On top of that, a lot of the characters have been given duplicate movesets with only a few attacks being unique. If I'm not mistaken, there's actually at least 3 characters who use the same katana moveset, those being Mitsuhide Akechi, Nagamasa Azai, and Takekage Kobayakawa. And then it's made even worse by something that I actually didn't know about until yesterday, which was that they dropped a day 1 season pass for the game, which costs, I think, £27 in the UK and $35 in the US. It includes things like extra horses, weapon sets, scenarios, and music packs, and that is not a good look. I mean, when you're cutting the roster and duping weapons and movesets and stripping, the whole game back overall, you should not be trying to push season passes on people. It just feels wrong and scummy to me, and probably to a lot of other people. I know this would probably be a complete deal breaker for a lot of people. I mean, look at Dynasty Warriors 9, it has multiple season passes and is just an absolute mess of a game with over-the-top monetization and just a poor product in general. I said in my review that I would recommend the game despite all these things, and I also said that if any of this bothers you that much, then you should probably just skip the game entirely. For me, I wanted a more focused, back-to-basics Warriors game without all the bloats, without the billions of menus, and the other various in-game systems. Just something a bit more simple. Pick a character, fight a battle, and that's basically it. Structurally, the game feels a lot like the older ones. Dynasty Warriors 3, 4, or 5, or perhaps the original Samurai Warriors. And if that's what you're looking for, and the issues mentioned earlier don't bother you, then I would still recommend the game easily to you. It's still very fun and enjoyable to me despite all of these issues we've been talking about. I mean, a game can be fun and flawed, the two aren't, mutually exclusive. Having said that though, I will not be buying the season pass, and I will not support that kind of thing because I think it's ridiculous, and I really do hope none of you will either, but at the end of the day, that's down to completely your choice whether you do that or not. And really, those are the two biggest issues in the game. I didn't want to go into massive detail with everything because what would happen is I would just end up going around in circles and saying bad things are bad, over and over. So I thought this was really worth talking about, even though it's quite a short video. I think it's important to acknowledge when something just isn't right. You can, of course, still enjoy any game that has issues, and all I can do as a YouTuber and reviewer is just let you know what I personally think of them. Ultimately though, it's down to you if you choose to buy the game or not, but everyone's entitled to their own view, and I hope this video helped to show that. I really do urge all of you to seek out as many different reviews on a game as possible before you buy it. Look for smaller channels like mine, look at huge channels like Angry Joe or SkillUp, and even places like IGN or GameSpot. Once you've watched a lot of different videos on a specific game, you can sort of more accurately place where you might fit, and in turn that should help you decide if a game is worth your time and money. But anyway, if you want to discuss this further, I'm very active in the comments section, so feel free to chat to me there. And now that the game's out, let me know how you feel about it. Are you enjoying it? Did you buy it? Have you just played the demo and didn't want the full game? Or are you just giving it a straight up pass? Let me know in the comments section down below. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing. All the important links are in the video description as always. But with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.